Tonight, ready, set, go. The race to Parliament Hill is on. Canadians called to the polls.
April 28th.
A crucial campaign season kicks off.
We are facing the most significant crisis of our lifetimes.
Tracking the candidates and the key issues.
I can still be swayed one way or the other.
Can new promises and pitches motivate voters to pivot?
Oh, we're ready. We could vote tomorrow.
Plus, Canadians holding court.
They are putting out young player after young player.
Local stars on the march.
It's really impressive and it's exciting.
And soaring through the madness.
Gets it to fall at the buzzer.
CTV National News with Heather Butts. Reporting tonight, Marcia McMillan.
Good evening. It's on. A federal election campaign now officially underway. Liberal leader Mark Carney calling a snap election today that will send Canadians to the polls April 28th. The leaders already crisscrossing the country, selling themselves as the strongest leader to stand up for Canada against Donald Trump and his threats. We have complete team coverage tonight, starting with CTV's Jeremy Sharon in Ottawa.
Walking out of Rideau Hall after meeting with Canada's Governor-General just days after being sworn in, Mark Carney is sending Canadians to the polls.
I've just requested that the Governor-General dissolve Parliament and call an election for April 28th.
A snap election that comes 6 months ahead of schedule, a 37-day campaign, the shortest allowed under election rules, now officially underway as leaders make their pitches to Canadians.
We have made major changes to put Canada in a stronger position, a much stronger position. But much more needs to be done, and that's why I'm standing here.
From Rideau Hall right to the Plain, Liberal leader Mark Carney took off to the East Coast for a campaign rally.
Morning, everyone. Beautiful day.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre launched his campaign alongside his family in Gatineau, Quebec, before the writs of the election were even issued.
We cannot afford another lost Liberal decade. We need to put Canada first for a change with a new Conservative government.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh pitched his plan in Ottawa.
You deserve a government that has your back, and we will fight like hell to make sure that happens.
While the Bloc Québécois faced questions about losing momentum in Quebec to the Liberals since Justin Trudeau's resignation.
I read Newton. What goes up goes down.
And the Green Party says it hopes to gain seats in this election.
As many as we can. And that's in the hands of Canadians.
And while the leaders will be campaigning against each other for the next 5 weeks, they'll also be pitching themselves on the single biggest issue of this campaign, Donald Trump.
He wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen.
You can be respectful and firm, and I believe we have to be both. I will insist the President recognize the independence and sovereignty of Canada.
Elon Musk has endorsed Pierre Poilievre. Donald Trump has endorsed Mark Carney. I'm the only candidate 100% not endorsed by anyone in the Donald Trump administration.
Now, on day one of the campaign, Mark Carney was the only leader to make a new pledge to Canadians, a tax cut for the middle class. Marcia?
Jeremy, thank you. Elections, of course, come down to the voters. And with two of the leaders never having led their parties in a national campaign, we wanted to know how people were leaning today. CTV's Kamakar Malley has been checking in with Canadians from coast to coast.
Here in downtown Toronto, at one of the busiest intersections in the country, plenty of people changing their tune ahead of a snap federal election.
As of a few months ago, I was more interested in a Conservative.
Salim was planning on voting Conservative, while Justin Trudeau was the Liberal leader, but now with Mark Carney taking the reins.
Absolutely, I'm voting for Carney. I was like, oh, that guy has my confidence. He looks competent.
And then there's Rohit Chopra, who's voted Liberal before.
I ignorantly voted for the Liberals, and I regret my vote.
But now he believes their time is up, instead throwing his support behind the Conservative leader.
I'm going to be voting for Pierre Poilievre, and I hope he steps up to the challenge.
Polls show it's a tight race between the two parties. Back at the beginning of the year, Nanos research had the Conservatives winning a majority by a landslide, with 225 seats in the House of Commons. By the end of February, the Liberals had significantly narrowed that gap, leaving the Conservatives just shy of 130 projected seats and a minority government. And that appears to be the sentiment across the country.
Probably be voting Conservative.
There's a shred of hope that I think Liberals have a chance.
I mean, I think it's neck and neck. I mean, they both have good ideas.
And in Carney's riding of Nepean in Ottawa, support is growing.
So Carney coming in, I think, might move Nepean more towards supporting Carney.
But with only 37 days left until the election, some voters tell us that's not enough time for them to get to know the new Liberal leader, which could be to his disadvantage, with other party leaders having spent a lot more time in the spotlight. Marcia.
Kamal, thank you. There's a lot at stake in this election for Canada. The political landscape and the mood of the country has changed just in the past few months. Let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapelos now. Vashi, as Kamal mentioned, the Liberals have managed to close a massive polling gap with the Conservatives. How did that happen?
Hi, Marcia. Yeah, it certainly has been a wild political ride over the last 2 months. And there are really two things that have changed the political context so dramatically. First of all, it is Justin Trudeau's resignation. So he resigned at a time when public opinion polls show he was himself very unpopular with a majority of Canadians. The second factor is the X factor. It's Donald Trump's entrance onto the scene and the specificity and the directness with which the U.S. president has taken aim at not just Canada's economy, but our sovereignty itself. Those two factors combined have changed the political context so dramatically that a few months ago, and for months, for almost a year, the Tories held a double-digit lead over the Liberals, and that has now completely evaporated. Most public opinion polls show that the two parties are within the margin of error of each other, and that leads to what will be a very competitive and ultra-significant 5-week campaign. A couple of things to watch out for. Mark Carney is pitching himself as an agent of change, despite the fact that his government, or his party's, government is responsible for a lot of what Carney wants change from. That's going to be a difficult message to land. On the other hand, Pierre Poilievre was effective at landing a message around change being needed because of the circumstances prior to Donald Trump. He will face now a very big challenge in trying to land that message when Canadians are so protective of what makes us Canadian. And finally, Jagmeet Singh and the NDP will face a challenge when it comes to relevancy. For the past 2 months, it has been a bitter battle between the Liberals and the Conservatives. Polls point to being the fact, I should say, for the next 5 weeks. Jagmeet Singh's task will be to enter into that conversation. Marcia, back to you.
Thank you, Vashi. The leaders wasting no time hitting the campaign trail. CTV reporters are covering the main party leaders. Let's start with Judy Trinh, who's with Mark Carney and the Liberals in St. John's tonight. Judy, why are the Liberals starting the campaign there?
Marcia, when he was running to be Liberal leader, Mark Carney's plan to visit Newfoundland Labrador was derailed by a snowstorm. So he's making a point of visiting it first during this general election. Carney was welcomed by a crowd of about 500 supporters at the St. John's Conference Centre. In his opening pitch, he spoke about a middle-class tax break that will put about $825 more a year into the pockets of Canadians who earn about $57,000 annually. He also talked about removing interprovincial trade barriers and building new infrastructure to develop oil and clean energy projects to get resources to new markets. But the line that got the most applause was when he said Donald Trump wants to break us so America can own us. The crowd immediately responded with no, and they can't have us. There are 7 ridings in Newfoundland Labrador up for grabs. On Monday, Carney will make a stop in Gander as well. In 2021, the Liberals won all but 1 seat in this province. But this time, 5 Liberal incumbents have decided not to run, turning every riding in this province into a battleground. Marcia.
Judy, thank you. The campaign trail taking the Conservative Party to the Toronto area tonight. The party holding a big rally in the city's North York neighborhood, where Pierre Poilievre delivered his Canada First message to a packed house. CTV's Mike Couture is tracking the Conservative campaign and joins us from Ottawa. Mike, why are the Conservatives in the Toronto area on day one?
Marcia, the road to government goes through the Greater Toronto Area for all parties. Knowing that, the Conservatives are focusing the first days of the campaign on the area that's perhaps better known by its area code, the 905. On Monday, they'll be in Brampton, where there are key ridings that Conservatives need to flip if they are to have any chance of forming government. To do that, Poilievre is hoping to make this a change election and convince Canadians that just because the Liberals have their new leader, the party itself is the same. Now, today at his press conference, Pierre Poilievre reiterated his attack on Mark Carney, saying that he was the economic advisor for former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and that many of Carney's cabinet ministers were also in Trudeau's inner circle. Now, the challenge for Poilievre will be to change his image from effective leader of the opposition to Prime Minister. Now, he was able to prosecute the case against Justin Trudeau in the House of Commons, but will he be able to convince Canadians that he is ready to lead this country? He'll have the next 5 weeks to do just that. Marcia?
Thank you, Mike. Recent polling is showing a dip for the NDP as Liberals take away some of their support. Rachel Aiello is with the party after their campaign kickoff in Montreal. Rachel, why the focus on Quebec?
Marcia, the NDP making Montreal their first stop of the 2025 election campaign is part of a deliberate strategy targeting Quebec. NDP sources I've been speaking with acknowledge that they need to do better in this province if they want to make gains, let alone try to form government. Right now, they only hold one seat as of dissolution in Quebec, but the party says that they have nominated some strong candidates and have a clear strategy to try to persuade Quebec voters. In terms of how they plan to do that, Singh's Quebec Charm Offensive has two main components. First, making the case that the Bloc did not deliver for the province in the last minority parliament, and playing up Singh as someone who they say is charming and relatable, which NDP sources think will help them in this province. Expect to see this on display in the NDP's French language ads and across social media. Singh has a dedicated digital team traveling with him this campaign. As for what we saw tonight, Singh helped put up lawn signs with his candidate, looking to outseat Liberal Cabinet Minister Stephen Guilbeault, and then held a Quebec kickoff in a nearby Montreal riding. Singh will be making an announcement in this city tomorrow morning, and then will spend most of the day on the bus, driving to downtown Toronto for an event in the evening. Marcia?
Rachel, thank you. Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet says his party is ready for the race. Speaking today in Montreal, Blanchet emphasized that the Bloc would continue to put Quebec's interests first. He says Quebecers will express their own voice in the coming election. The Bloc Québécois will officially kick off their campaign on Monday in Quebec City. Also in Montreal, co-leaders Jonathan Pedneau and Elizabeth May launched the Green Party's campaign. May promises to defend the progressive vision of Canada and says Canadians must vote now as though our country depends on it. Well, this election will be history-making in more ways than one. The first under Canada's new electoral map with new ridings and changes to the ones that already exist. CTV's Colton Prale continues our coverage with the numbers to know before you vote.
The change on Parliament Hill has been obvious for months, but over the next month, it's the change inside Canadians are watching. And that starts in the House of Commons. Canada's 338 seats are growing by 5. One new addition in British Columbia, 3 in Alberta, and another in Ontario. But they're not the only changes. 295 ridings have new boundaries compared to the last election. Only 48 remain unchanged. It could put some incumbents in danger, while it leaves others looking for a seat.
The addition of these new ridings and the new boundaries seem to have a slight benefit to the Conservatives, not just where the additional seats are, but some of the boundaries. But I wouldn't, count it being the deciding factor.
Now 172 seats is the magic number to form a majority government. And as campaign buses hit the roads, it's a very different Canada they're crossing than when the Liberals first took power in 2015. For starters, there are over 5.5 million more Canadians, over a third of them newcomers. It means more than 28 million people will be eligible to decide who becomes Canada's next Prime Minister. The other big difference in Canada, what's driving voters to the polls. Donald Trump is by far the biggest issue on voters' minds, while the economy is a close second.
It'll be trial by fire because of the impact, I'll call it the overhang, of Donald Trump and how he represents another wild card for all of the federal party leaders.
But of all the numbers, there are two that matter most. 37, the number of days in the election and the fastest timeline under Canadian law, and 28, the day in April when Canadians will choose the next Prime Minister. Marcia?
Thank you, Colton. Coming up, new policies present roadblocks.
We don't have enough workers to meet the demand.
Why some Canadian businesses are coming up short. Plus, how the Pope's improved health is warming hearts. It's not just tariffs threatening Canadian businesses. It's an uncertain immigration policy as well. CTV's Sarah Plowman spoke with a business owner and a worker in New Brunswick, both watching to see what will happen next.
For decades, in Sussex, New Brunswick, Mrs. Dunster's has been the spot for fresh loaves and donuts. What dozens of workers face is not as sweet.
Sometimes I feel very blank. I didn't think, like, what should I do? Where should I go?
Vineet Kumar moved from India nearly 4 years ago. He loves his job, but his work permit expires next March. As Canada reduces immigration, his path to stay and become a permanent resident is narrowing.
I wish I could stay for a long time.
Ottawa slashed its immigration targets for international students, workers, and permanent residents, arguing it'll alleviate pressure on housing, infrastructure, and social services. New Brunswick's spots for permanent resident nominees were cut by half. Priority will go to those in healthcare, education, and construction, slimming others' chances. Tariffs are not the top threat to this bakery.
The biggest threat to our business is immigration policy and the lack of available workers.
Mrs. Dunster's already expanded. Its owner plans to double its size. A fifth of the staff are like Kumar, here on a temporary work permit. The owner wants immigration to be handled with a regional approach.
I'm sure that different provinces have different needs. Our province needs more immigrants. It's cutting the number in half, cutting the number below the number of people that are actually already here working on work permits makes no sense whatsoever.
Employers and workers face a serious challenge, says this immigration lawyer.
For the first time in my career, I'm finding myself in a situation where I have to tell people there's nothing we can do for them.
With no certainty, this baker has questioned if he should stay, but he's chosen to hold out hope to become a permanent resident. Ottawa says its plan focuses on well-managed, sustainable growth. A spokesperson in New Brunswick says there are substantially more foreign workers here than they have available nominations. But talks are ongoing with the federal government to try to increase this province's number of nomination spots. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
Still ahead, a stirring first appearance since falling ill. The recovery that's raising spirits. Pope Francis has made his first public appearance since being hospitalized last month. Cheers rang out as the 88-year-old pontiff appeared on a balcony of the Roman hospital where he's been receiving treatment. The Pope addressed the crowd briefly before being discharged. He'll now have to rest at the Vatican for at least 2 months. Dramatic moments in Istanbul as protesters launched fireworks at police. Riot officers responded by unleashing pepper spray on the crowd to push them back. Demonstrators have taken to the streets of Turkey's capital for days now, outraged over the detention of Istanbul's mayor on corruption charges. Authorities in New Mexico have now arrested 4 suspects wanted in a mass shooting that left 3 teens dead. 15 others, ranging in age from 16 to 36, were wounded when gunfire erupted at a car rally Friday night. Still ahead, making hometowns proud. Canadians shoot for stardom. To the ice, where Canada swept their way to a second straight curling world championship. This double takeout rocked Swiss spirits, and Rachel Homan's Canadian team never looked back, winning 7-3. After back-to-back world championships, Homan's rink will now try to qualify for the Olympics at the Canadian curling trials this November.
Lovely little ball through. It's Jonathan David!
A massive win for Canada's men's soccer team today, defeating the rival U.S. team to claim third in the CONCACAF Nations League. It's a huge momentum boost before North America hosts next year's World Cup. As March Madness takes over the basketball world, many young Canadians are shining bright. CTV's Alex Karpa caught up with the proud family of one Manitoba-born player who's making history.
She's got a little fire in her, a little feistiness, so that's a good quality to have as a basketball player.
Dan Becker is proud of his daughter, Tana, who is playing basketball in the States.
This is when she committed to University of Kentucky.
Tana is a freshman guard who joined the school's team last March, and now she's the first Manitoba-born woman to compete in what's likely the world's best-known college basketball tournament. Dan also played college basketball and competed professionally in Europe. He now coaches in Winnipeg and has been doing so since Tana was 8. From the minor leagues, Tana played prep basketball in Ontario before going to the States.
Of all my kids, she's the one that's the feistiest. You know, she's the one that gives you a little lit back in the house, has her own opinion, doing different things, but she also has that on the court.
Tana is one of 29 Canadians competing in this year's March Madness tournament. Canada has the highest number of representatives on men's and women's teams outside of the U.S., followed by Spain and Australia.
If there's any talent, whether it's size, athleticism in any part of the country, it gets found pretty easily.
Wes Brown should know. He helps pro teams scout for top Canadian players. He says there are several Canadians who will make a difference in this year's tournament, including Ontarians Will Riley and Ryan Nemhard.
A ton of really high-level talent, some kids that'll be first-round picks, some guys that are in the second-round conversation. So it's talent, they're on good teams, and they have draft potential as well.
There's Tana, she's a Kia nurse.
Tana already met one of her idols, Canadian WNBA star Kia Nurse, who's also a guard.
It's been a great experience so far for her, so it's really impressive and it's exciting to be a Canadian hooper right now.
And of course, her dad thinks it's just a matter of time before this 19-year-old goes pro too. Alex Karpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
That's CTV National News for tonight. I'm Marcia McMillan. From all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night.